Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Ajoe21love, here at Sports Review Topics, number 58 on the channel. So, thank you for joining me today. If you're new to the podcast, again, like and subscribe. Click on the channel for your episodes of Sports Review Topics, so as well as my pro wrestling reviews. You find them all on the channel, but here today on the podcast, I'll be explaining about the Milwaukee Bucks and the Phoenix Suns as they wrapped up the NBA Finals. The Milwaukee Bucks are your new 2020 to 2021 NBA champions. Congrats to them. As well, I'll be talking about the Phoenix Suns. I'll be talking about the new ruling of the NFL, explaining how unrescheduled games due to COVID outbreaks due to unvaccinated players, that the teams will forfeit a loss, as well as Melvin Ingram to Steelers, uh, and some more. So, again, thank you. But first, we'll be going over Milwaukee Bucks. So, the Milwaukee Bucks, like I said, are the new NBA champions. Now, credit, I am late on this. I posted Sports Movie Topics number 57 last week on Tuesday, and Game 6 was that night. Hence, I did not think that the Milwaukee Bucks were going to close it out in Game 6. I thought perhaps the Suns would at least win that, make it a Game 7, so I had some time, a little refresher in between then. But no, I'm late as far as this, but nonetheless, congratulations to the Milwaukee Bucks. I picked the Suns. My original pick was Nets over Suns, and the Nets got eliminated, so I picked the Suns. But is it disappointing for the Suns? Yes. Is it surprising though for the Bucks? No. Now, the reason being is, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Giannis being multiple time MVP, and the fact that people have said in the past that he has not had the right supporting cast around him. And this case, they got him Drew Holiday to help out with defense, and PJ Tucker, Bobby Portis, who played really well in the series, Brook Lopez, Chris Middleton. I mean, they got the job done against the Phoenix Suns. And Giannis, he did have to carry them to the finish line. In Game 6, he scored 50, but nonetheless, going him getting Finals MVP, and he's only 26, which, the sky's the limit for Giannis. He's already a multiple-time MVP, former Defensive Player of the Year, now a Finals MVP. So, hats to the Bucks. They finally got to the end. They finally got over to the finish line. And also, I must say, congrats to Mike Budenholzer. And the reason being is he's gotten a bunch of slack the last few years. And he thought maybe if they lose in the opening round of the finals, or not the finals, but the opening round of the playoffs, that perhaps he get bounced. Just try to get Giannis a better coach. The reality is they played. It looked rocky at times. They took care of the Heat. They smidgely got past the Nets, and they got past a hungry Hawks team, and they got it done against the Suns. Again, being with adversity, being down 2-0, it looked like the Suns were gonna get this finals. I didn't think they would sweep them. I predicted the Suns in 6. Well, it was 6, but it was the Milwaukee Bucks in 6. So good. So nonetheless, good for Milwaukee. As far as the Phoenix Suns size of things, so it's obviously a disappointment for their aspect. They're up 2-0. It looked like in their control, and they got cold at times, and it seemed like the defense as well was giving them problems. It just matchup wise, it really took a favor in the Milwaukee Bucks side. Now, in Game 5, obviously, they had two chances really to take that game, take it back in favor after the Bucks tied up the series, but they missed it. And this case, it was a close game for a good chunk, and the Suns just couldn't grasp that lead as soon as they lost it. So there was that, and I mean, they beat the defending champion Lakers. They took care of the Nuggets and the MVP Jokic, and then they beat a tough Clipper team. So it's definitely gonna be some digesting for them. But as you know, the reason why I really picked the Suns was because I thought that with this being his first finals, Chris Paul, and I thought there'd be more urgency out of him and for the rest of the team. Now, the Suns are a relative young team, so they still have a chance to be back here and obviously be a playoff team again next season. But with the competitive range of the Western Conference, it's going to be a tough task. With the Jazz, the Nuggets, Lakers, Clippers, Warriors, etc. Mavericks. It's just unfortunate for their side of things, but now there'll be people that'll be like, oh, it was because the injuries and this and that. The reality is they got here and they did not get the job done. Point blank. So it is what it is. Again, hats off to Milwaukee and good for Giannis and Mike Budenholzer, primarily. So, with that, pivoting from that to now the new ruling that NFL teams will forfeit unrescheduled games due to COVID outbreaks due to unvaccinated players. Now, obviously, after this rule came out, there's been controversy and backlash. And the reality is, some people just don't want to take the vaccine. And it is what it is. But as far as NFL players and the NFL, really, I mean, when it comes to NFL players, there is a multitude of risk in the NFL in playing. Injuries happen, this or that, something can go wrong, and it's just the way it is. And hence why we've seen many changes throughout the years to try and make the game safer. And in this case now, with the ruling now being out there, players are upset because they don't want to take it, the vaccine, and it could be costly to a team when you think about it, because it could separate that one team that is trying to make the playoffs or trying to get in, or a team that is trying to get a bye in the playoffs, the one seed, as far as playing the next week in the wild card. So it can be fatal in that aspect to a team's record, especially. And I mean, thankfully, last season, we did have some hiccups, or they did have some hiccups in the NFL scheduling. For example, the Tennessee Titans, they had a rough road at the end of the first month of the season. They had some games they had to reschedule, this or that. And then finally, obviously, there was many weeks where it was crucial for the Titans, but then once they got their act together, once games got in the way, there wasn't really no hiccup from the Titans after that, as far as the virus is concerned. And then we had some games, with, because there was a Thursday night game that was originally scheduled to be the Chiefs and the Bills, but due to the scheduling of I believe it was the Bills Titans game, it was shifted to Tuesday night or Tuesday evening. So then Bills Chiefs was shifted from Thursday night to Monday. So, we got some Monday doubleheaders, some more than what we usually get. So, in some ways, it worked, and in some ways, it was confusing. We lost the Thanksgiving night game between the Ravens and the Steelers due to Lamar Jackson and some others testing positive. So that game was played the following week, but they worked out, and I think it had an effect on the Steelers as well because with the shifting and all, it made their games very tightly. So, or a stretch of their games, which I think had an effect on them. But nonetheless, the NFL season was mostly clean. In the Super Bowl, basically everyone was healthy besides injuries, non COVID related. So that was good. And the NFL had a deadline for players to opt out, and I can't really recall any big name players that opted out. There was probably a few, but nonetheless, things are getting better in the world than they were a year ago. And hopefully, because I read something about Cole Beasley and Mark Cuban, who is the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. Cole Beasley said that he would get the vaccine and be a campaigner for it all over social media if the Pfizer company put a percent of their earnings in his wife's names. So then Mark Cuban offered up a solution to buy a portion of stock for Pfizer for his wife so that way he get a dividend. But nonetheless, it's just a strange fortune because in sports there's risks to yourself, and there's, especially when it comes to people, there's a fortune of the risk and how they feel versus the reward. And that's just the way it is. But nonetheless, we'll see. Training camp is underway. Things are going well, it appears. So, and preseason is next month. So, as we move closer to the NFL season, I think we'll really find out if how teams and players react or how they really feel on their attention. So now I want to talk about a big move that really I'm surprised. I mean, I get it because of his inactivity last year or last season, but he was one of the bigger name free agents out there, and he lasted out there for a while. And I'm glad where he went. Melvin Ingram, who was drafted by the Chargers a number of years ago. He made the Pro Bowl 3 straight years from 2017 to 2019. He along with Joey Bosa, that was a heck of a duo trying to guard those two off the edge is a question. Last year, he was injured and was only on the field for 7 games and did not have a sack. So, I mean, I get why people were hesitant probably on signing him. Plus, the other thing is the money aspect, the financial aspect, how much are you willing to pay a guy versus how much does he want? Excuse me. But nonetheless, he goes to a solid situation in Pittsburgh. He's going to be opposite. He's basically going to replace Bud Dupree, I would say, in that defense. And, with Devin Bush coming back, I think it's really going to be. They still got a good plethora of talent on the defense. Minka Fitzpatrick in the back, along with Cam Hayward up front. You got TJ Watt. Now you got Melvin Ingram, who is not going to get as much attention as TJ Watt, but he's bound to have a solid year trying to defend both those off the edge. So that's a solid pickup and a solid signing for both Ingram and the Steelers. So, but nonetheless, that's all I had for today. Kind of a short episode of the podcast today. Excuse me, I almost forgot. Sorry. TJ Dillashaw. So, we also had fights, UFC fights. Her last Saturday night, TJ Dillashaw, he made his return to the octagon. He fought Cory Sandhagen. For those who know, number 2 ranked contender at bantamweight. For those who missed it, you missed a hell of a fight. A hell of a fight. I would say, you know, hats off to Dillashaw. He looked solid in his return. Split decision, 48-47. Dillashaw earned it. Now, Dillashaw was good to start. They were both exchanging on the feet. And then all of a sudden in the second round, Sandhagen pops him really nicely with shots and then cuts open Dillashaw a cut literally above on the eyebrow in between his eyelid and his eyebrow. So a nasty cut. Hats off to the doctor for letting him stay in there. And, hats off to Dillashaw, who was basically fighting with half a crimson mask on his face for the majority of the fight. But Dillashaw stuck in there. Sandhagen, he was pacing on, but didn't find the shot that could finish Dillashaw. And yeah, Dillashaw applied pressure. He landed a couple takedowns. He mostly got him up against the fence. Pressure him. Also landed some leg kicks and just trying to change it up. I thought Dillashaw won the fight. Close fight. But Dillashaw, he was pressuring him despite Sandhagen landing some good shots, and that was kind of what won him the fight. So good for Dillashaw in his return. Sandhagen, he's not gonna fall a lot from this. He'll regroup, he'll be back. So one of the best in the bantamweight division, but it's gonna be interesting. Dillashaw, he called out Peter Yan, which moves into my last bit of news for today. So, UFC 267, apparently it will not be a pay-per-view. It'll be on Fight Island in Abu Dhabi, but it will not be a pay-per-view. Two title fights, two very interesting title fights. Jan Blachowicz versus Glover Teixeira for the light heavyweight title, and Peter Yan and Aljamain Sterling have the rematch for the bantamweight championship. So, two stellar title fights. It's kind of a steal that it's not on pay-per-view, although it's unfortunate for Jan, Glover, Aljo, and Jan, obviously because they don't get pay-per-view points, but nonetheless, as far as the viewer is concerned, it's a steal because you don't have to. Well, we'll still have to see if it's on ESPN or ESPN Plus, but for that card to not be on pay-per-view is really a solid steal for the viewer. As far as Dillashaw calling out Peter Yan, he looked very good, obviously, in his return. He's probably going to have to take some time off. regroup. He said he looked good, but obviously that cut can take some time to heal up. And yeah, I would love to see Dillashaw versus either Aljamain Sterling or Peter Yan. I think that would be a very good fight. Very good fight. But, so, nonetheless, that's all I had for the podcast today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, click that like button as well as click the subscribe button to follow all my videos on the channel. Sports Jovi topics, pro wrestling views, all my sports news, etc. coverage. But nonetheless, I'll be back on Thursday with my AEW Fight for the Fallen review. So, thank you all. Have a great day. Be safe and peace.